Every gardener has been there. You start a compost pile with high hopes, watch it for days, and instead of bubbling and warming, it sits there lifeless, smelling faintly sour, almost like it resents you. You've added the right mix of kitchen scraps and yard waste, turned it occasionally, and yet it refuses to transform into rich, fertile humus. The truth is, most failing compost piles suffer from a hidden problem that gardeners rarely recognize until it's too late. A microbial imbalance caused by either too little oxygen, too much moisture, or incorrect carbon-to-nitrogen ratios. Once you understand the underlying issue, the fix is simple, immediate, and almost always guarantees a turnaround in your pile's activity. Stick with me, because by the end of this guide, you'll know exactly how to diagnose and repair your compost pile before it becomes a lost project, and you'll gain a deeper understanding of the biology that makes composting work in the first place. The hidden problem is that your compost pile is suffocating. The most common culprit behind a stalled compost pile is a lack of oxygen. Microbes that decompose organic matter need air to survive, but many gardeners pile their materials too densely or fail to aerate regularly. Without oxygen, aerobic microbes that break down material efficiently are replaced by anaerobic bacteria, which produce foul odours and, slow the decomposition process to a crawl. The pile can become compacted under its own weight, trapping pockets of moisture and creating a suffocating environment for beneficial organisms. The fix is surprisingly straightforward. Loosen the pile with a garden fork or pitchfork, lifting and turning layers from bottom to top. This reintroduces air, breaks up dense pockets, and allows heat to redistribute. If your pile is very large, consider layering materials with gaps or adding coarse matter like small twigs to maintain airflow. Within a day or two, microbial activity will surge, and you should notice the pile warming as decomposition resumes. Water content is critical to microbial activity, and too much or too little can kill the pile. Microbes also need moisture, but not a swamp. Many stalled piles either dry out in the sun or become waterlogged from rain or overwatering. Dry material slows decomposition because microbes cannot metabolize organic matter efficiently, while excessive moisture creates anaerobic conditions that favor odor-producing bacteria. To find the sweet spot, test your pile with the squeeze test. Just take a handful of material and squeeze it gently. It should feel like a damp sponge, releasing a few drops of water, but not dripping. If it feels too dry, sprinkle water evenly and mix it in. But if it's too wet, add dry carbon-rich materials like straw, shredded cardboard, or dry leaves. This balance, honestly, immediately revives microbial populations and gets rid of that stagnant smell that so often comes with water imbalance. Even with proper aeration and moisture, a pile can stall if the mix of greens and browns is off. Nitrogen-rich greens, kitchen scraps, grass clippings and coffee grounds provide microbes with protein and energy. Carbon-rich browns, like leaves, straw and shredded paper, they really act as fuel for your compost. They give essential structure to the pile and help absorb any excess moisture, which is just so important for a healthy decomposition process. If you end up with too much nitrogen, you'll probably notice a slimy, stinky mess developing. On the other hand, too much carbon results in a slow, dry pile that just resists breaking down, making composting much less effective. So, the solution here is to add complementary material to bring that ratio closer to about 25 to 30 parts carbon for every part nitrogen. If your pile smells a bit sour, simply sprinkle in some browns and mix it thoroughly. But if it barely heats up and looks rather dry, go ahead and add some greens along with a little water to get things moving. In many stalled piles, adjusting the carbon to nitrogen ratio alone can, restart the decomposition process within just a few days. Historically, farmers and homesteaders who mastered composting understood that it isn't just a pile, it's really an ecosystem. Microbes, worms, and small insects all need conditions that fluctuate naturally. Warmth, moisture, oxygen, and a mix of soft and coarse material. By layering greens and browns and turning the pile periodically, you mimic, in a sense, natural processes like leaf litter decomposition in forests. Each turn redistributes heat, aerates the pile, and ensures that moisture is evenly spread. Even a small daily or weekly turn can prevent problems before they start. For practical application, start by digging into the middle of your pile with a pitchfork, lifting and flipping material outward, then covering with the outer layers. Repeat on the opposite side a day later. Over the next week, you'll see steam rising on cold mornings, which is a clear sign that the pile has reactivated and decomposition is back on track. If your compost is, severely stalled or just feeling a bit cold, you might want to consider introducing some additional microbes to really kick-start the activity. Finished compost, worm castings, or even just a handful of healthy garden soil. These all contain active microbial populations that can help colonize and revive struggling piles. Sprinkle lightly across the pile and mix it in. This practice is essentially seeding your compost with a thriving microbial community, which, accelerates breakdown balances odour and creates nutrient-rich humus faster. The lesson from most failing compost piles is that they aren't broken. They're simply out of balance. By identifying whether your pile is suffocating, too wet or too dry, or, improperly mixed, and then making adjustments to aeration, moisture, and carbon to nitrogen ratio, you can bring it back to life quickly. A few small steps can convert a stagnant mess into a steaming, productive compost pile in as little as a week, giving you rich soil ready to feed your garden. If this guide helped you understand why your compost pile isn't working and how to fix it, make sure to subscribe and share this video with fellow gardeners, homesteaders, and anyone interested in practical, hands-on soil wisdom. Hydrohaven is here to revive forgotten techniques and ensure your garden thrives year-round.